start. Can everyone see me okay? If you give me a thumbs up, Simon, yeah? Perfect. Okay, right. So choose a length, right? Again, sometimes, you know, simplicity is key, right? And I would go as far as to say is we have to measure it 100 times, cut it once, right? So rather, just to be sure of our length, right? If we just look here, right, we've done the profile section, right? So it's very, very simple. So I'm going to start behind the ear on my left side. It's my strong side, so I like to kind of get my confidence through the haircut, bang in my shape, and then obviously follow it with the other side. But you know, I do my strong side first, okay? So just a little bit of water. So I've already pre-cut my first section, right? So I'm just going to show you what I've done, right? So it's behind, over here, just behind the ear. Like I said, I'm a little bit rusty, guys, so you have to bear with me. Is that okay, son? You can see that? So we get the small side of the comb, stick it to the scalp. And I want to leave it quite long, so I bring it out. As I said, you know, sometimes people would say, often say like, well, does that not look a little bit unprofessional? But, you know, it doesn't look as unprofessional as a lopsided haircut. So it's better off to be sure, right? So we put the small side in, bring it out, and I'm going to count 8 back, okay? 8 teeth back on the wide side. I made my cut, okay? So here we are here. And now, well, as I said, I've done my first section. And we cut square. Now, sometimes, you know, depending on the density of the hair, I'll elevate. I'll elevate this, right? The reason why I elevate when I cut it, obviously, is to lighten the shape, right? But these dummy heads, they're already quite light. So I don't want to lighten them too much, right? So the first pass of the haircut, or the first zone of the haircut, is going to be a square layer. Okay, so we're going to go over direct back to the previous, so our section 2 goes back to section 1. Okay, we're going to work forward. Okay, can you see that still, Simon, properly? Okay, so again, as we all know, we have our section. Now, again, because we're going square, we over direct the previous. Not past the previous, just onto the previous. Okay? Again, steer guide. Elevate slightly if you wish, but as I said, on these dummy heads, we don't have to. And again. I don't know about you guys, but like, you know, we don't often get a whole pile of just walking long hair. All of my long hair clients, they're either models that I've used in shoots and campaigns in the past, or they're like super, super regular clients, you know, because, you know, the guys with long hair, they don't generally tend to go into my type of barbershop all that much, because obviously how it looks, you know, people assume it's a traditional barbershop and everyone's wearing a waistcoat and, you know, and all we're doing is kind of cut people's hair off and fill it full of grease and send them on their way, you know. But again, you know, hair is hair and technique is technique. I think once you're strong in technique, you know, I think it's, you know, any type of haircut, you know, becomes doable, you know. But also, I have to stress that, you know, in this time, you know, where the standards, just cross-checking here, just to check, where the standards of barbering, you know, as a whole have probably gotten a little bit weaker, but the standard of individual hair cutters, you know, especially barbers, has gone through the roof. You know what I mean? You know, this is, as I said, when you asked me to come on here, I thought, geez, this is great, you know, lovely. And sorry, that's just it. Again, I'm going to go back. And now, I'm going to push on to my previous. You can imagine, so we're actually, that's what we're doing, essentially, right? And then if you were to break that, that becomes square, okay? So we over direct back, and now we push it a little bit forward, okay? But again, the section goes to the previous, not past, so we just build up that square shape, okay? Just so we get where the head starts to round off, and then we're going to work into a round layer, okay? So as I said, you know, so I was delighted to be asked to do this, and then I see the lineup this week, and I see you got Josh and Anne and Sid, you know, and I was like, oh shit, you know, so I kind of had to be on, I have to bring my A game now. As I said, not looking for any excuses, but you know, not cutting hair to any type of standard. I've been cutting my daughter's boyfriend's hair because he's been living with us, and I cut my son's hair once or twice. That's it, in 3 months. So just, you can imagine, I'm a little bit rusty. But anyway, so here we go again.
So talking about lineup, yeah, thanks very much for joining us, because it's an honour to have you. Like you said, you've not done any demos for 5 months, so we are blessed to have you, mate.
Yeah. So again, with this again, right? So because this hair is it's a longer haircut, right? You got to be. I'm very very aware of salons, and you've got smaller chairs and all, right? Barber chairs are big, hefty lumps, right? So you don't have to really beat yourself up, about keeping this perfect posture overhand, because I have these big, massive cast iron chairs, right? So for me, it's okay for me because I've done this for so long, and I've actually had to make myself get used to working overhand around a bigger chair. But so anyone who's not used to doing haircuts like this, it's perfectly acceptable to work underhand. Okay, you just have to be aware of what happens. Okay, your body dictates the way your hand moves, right? So if you're working overhand, right, you naturally elevate up, right? You're going to naturally do this, right? If you're working underhand, you probably let yourself drop a little bit. So you just got to be aware of that. So I'm watching myself in the corner of the screen, right? So I just have to be aware that I don't follow my body. Okay, so again, I don't want to put too much stress on this, because ultimately we are barbers. We do charge a certain amount of money. Okay, so we cannot spend 45 minutes to an hour cutting. It just becomes it becomes a pointless exercise. You can't do great hair, but you make no money. Okay, so this is very very commercial haircut. Okay, so again, spring in here and elevate slightly if I wish. I'm just going to check again my shape in 2 different areas. Okay, I'm going to check it here at the bottom. Okay, again, these are very very long the sideburns, so I didn't shape them all the way up because I don't want the hair to kick out. Okay, so just to check. There we are. Bottom shape. Okay, now I'm just going to do one more section. Square. You see that, Simon? Is that okay? Okay, now just as a guide, we pop the comb, right? If this was a square box, right, we go from here to here, right? So just as a guide, I know now, just by looking at my comb and where the head is, this will be my last square section, okay?
Well, not a question, but a comment from Charlotte Sargent, who says she struggles with fading on curly hair because she's never happy with the blend. Have you got any advice?
Yeah, wait and ask Alan B. No, seriously. A fade, right? It can only be, I'm a big believer in this, a fade can only be as good as the hair, okay? There is a method to it, and everyone has different people. Some people fade from the bottom to the top. Some people fade from the top to the bottom. Ultimately, you've got to figure out what works better for you, okay? But to answer your question about curly hair, we all struggle with that. And again, sometimes I can do a fade in 15 minutes and it'll look absolutely beautiful because the hair is perfect, the head is perfect, the scalp is perfect. But if somebody's hair and scalp doesn't allow for that really, really clean blend, you could actually be, chasing the unicorn. You might never get a clean fade off it. But again, that is my opinion on it, and it's the way I work. So again, now we're going to work into round, right? Now, just to explain, right? Round, again, a lot of people don't understand the difference between round and square area. You don't actually cut round, right? What you do is you cut hair, on the base of where it grows. Now, on the base means there is no over direction, okay? When we cut square, we have to over direct, because you can imagine we're trying to create a square shape on a round surface, right? So obviously to get that square shape, what we've got to do, we've got to over direct. And because obviously the skull dips, so externally it's going to be the same length, but internally it will be different lengths. So that's how we get the square shape. So we over direct to the previous to build a square shape. So again, when we go around, we just adjust our body a little bit and we just look into the root, right, for our tail, right? So the tail is in the root, so there should be no stretch on the root, okay? And it should just come, so we bring our guide onto our section, right? A second there, as I said, I'm a little bit rusty. We bring a guide onto our section and we cut straight out from the base, okay? There we are. And like guys, if you don't see your guide, go back and find it, okay? Now I'm going to just pop underhand now again, just so to give people an idea, because again, these dummy heads, they grow they're quite low, okay? So again, so you can you see this properly? Okay, so again, follow on, and again, don't allow your body to drop, okay? So in a shop environment, when I'm teaching, I probably wouldn't allow them to do this yet, because it is kind of a shortcut, excuse the pun, but I'd like, once somebody knows how to do it overhand in the correct way, then I don't mind someone taking a shortcut, okay? But it's just like, I want people to do it the hard way first, and then understand their shortcuts, okay? But in a shop situation, this is absolutely perfectly acceptable, okay?
So you mentioned earlier, obviously, that apologies to people that are just tuned in. My intro, mate, cut off. It didn't actually go live, unfortunately. So you got away with that one. But just to introduce him again, Johnny Barber, owner of BaBa UK. Is it 6 shops you said you had earlier?
Yeah, we got 6 in the academy, yeah.
Wow. So how are you coping at the minute, mate?
Do you know what? The first 4 weeks, I was absolutely violent. Okay, I really was, right? I'm not even going to lie about it. Okay, I was very bad, right? Because, all I saw was, okay, we're closed, we're losing X, Y, Z, we've no money, and, everyone is in the same boat. But, luckily my wife is a lot more level-headed than me, okay? So she was saying, but, this is not the business failing. This is not, anything you could have controlled. Because, anyone who knows me knows I'm a little bit of a control freak, okay? Not much, just a little. But, she said everyone's in the same boat, so it's a pause button. It is going to be different, as I said to you when we come back, but, I do want to stress to people that, I don't want to be scaring the life out of people, so we'll be as careful as we have to be, but like, if you were to read the news, and you see people, if anybody was actually to read every email they got in the last few weeks, they'd literally sell you enough face masks, and protection to, warrant a chance of walking on the moon, So again, I think most of us have always, ran our shops correctly, ran our salons correctly, and as a profession, just move around here, I'm going to finish the centre back, guys, okay? As a profession, we generally know how to, keep our shops clean and tidy, so this is going to be nothing new for most of us, with an extra, I suppose, an extra emphasis on a clean down. But like, we all use barbicide, we all wash our hands, we all shampoo hair all the time, so, they're not telling us anything we don't already know. But as I said to you before this started, I think our clients are going to be hyper aware of their surroundings. You know what I mean? So, okay. Is this clear enough for everybody? Okay, so now, again, just elevate slightly at the bottom, because again, these are super long on the outline, okay, so I'll elevate a little bit more. Okay. Now, so that's that side done now, right? Other side is the same. Any other questions out there?
I'm just replying as the usual suspects have started to join in now. Nicholas O, hello. Amanda, hello. Elaine from Cyprus is watching.
I used to live in Cyprus.
Yeah, whereabouts?
Many years ago, I lived in Nicosia. My father was in the army. He was stationed there in 1988. I was only 10. From the age of 10 to 12, I lived in the UN base in Nicosia.
Did you know you wanted to be a barber over there?
Do you know what? I was around 11 or 12 when it really hit me. Yeah. And again, but it wasn't so much the hair, it was the atmosphere. And again, I popped this in earlier while I was getting ready, right, just to, speed up on things. So if you can see there, that's my guide. And just to make sure I'm on the right spot, we said at the start, stick the small tooth of the comb to the scalp, and I'm going to count out, I'm going to count 8 teeth in, okay?
For you.
Yeah.
So, Petter Larking Taylor says, I'm a newly qualified hairdresser and was thinking of signing up to do a barber course before we got into lockdown. Do you think the methods differ much between the two? What a good question that is.
No, I think technique is technique, okay? We all use layering graduation and what we call showing skin, okay, in barbering. It's how you apply the technique to a head that makes a haircut, okay? So if you don't understand technique, then you're going to be finding it very, very difficult to actually create a haircut, right? If you understand technique and you know how to, combine those techniques, as I said, I'm combining this square to round. Reason why I'm not doing a full square layer, if I did a pure square layer on all the roundings of this head, right? Men by definition they have bigger heads than women, okay? By definition they have thicker, coarser hair than women. So if I was to build loads of weight with squareness back here, he'd almost look like a Lego head, okay? So it's not a different haircut, hair is hair, layers are layers, graduation is graduation. But I think we use more techniques differently. As barbers we use square layering, round layering, triangle layering, we use round graduation. We rarely use triangle graduation, we rarely use square graduation, funnily enough, because square graduation can actually build a very, very feminine shape. We're just hung up with this word square, square, square is masculine, square is manly. And I fell into that trap myself for years. I thought everything had to be square, but I think everything has to be, I suppose, correct, and suitable. I think suitability is far more important, especially with men's hair. Okay? So if that answers your question, I hope it does. So again, I'm going to over-direct back slightly onto my previous, not past, elevated ever so slightly, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
I have a second question to add to that question. So a lot of people that want to do barbering courses, obviously looking at a lot of these crash courses. Now, I am throwing meat to a lion here because I know your opinion on some of these courses. But I want the audience to know your opinion on this because I think it's perfectly reasonable what you say.
Okay. Well, I think, we are desperate to be accepted as professionals by the hairdressing industry. Yeah. Okay? We all crave, and, I like to say that I don't give a shit and all this kind of stuff, to a degree I don't, and, 90% of the time I don't. But, I wouldn't be human if I didn't want, really accomplished hairdressers like, JB Mazzella, Kosakis, all these, like, geniuses on hair, Nick Irwin, and, all these brilliant hairdressers, right? I'd be lying if I didn't say I wanted them to look at me and go, Jesus, he can cut hair well, I mean, when you look at someone like Josh Monica, right? Yeah. Josh Monica is technically as strong as any hairdresser I've ever seen in my life. The man is unbelievable, right? And that's not me blowing smoke up his arse, I don't need to. I mean, I know Josh quite a while. I know him before. I knew Josh when he just started off with the NH Fed, and he was always a little bit ahead of the curve, you know what I mean? But over the last 2 or 3 years, he just exploded. So technically, look how strong he is, right? And there is no way in hell you can become that technical without years and years and years and years and years of dedicated practice, right? So when it takes 3 years to become a hairdresser, right? And it takes 12 weeks to become a barber, and then we turn around and ask ourselves why we're not being taken seriously by the industry. I think we just answered our own question. And I'm blue in the face from talking about these courses because at my own academy, it's a 6-month course. And after those 6 months, if you pass the exam, I'll give you a job. but you still only be a junior barber for another 6 months. You pick and choose. I expect 5 haircuts a day out of you, and you still have to train every Tuesday night in the shop, So after about a year, you probably have a bit about you. You're still not the finished article, but you're able to earn money as a barber. But to answer your question, if you're already a hairdresser, then you don't need a course. You need to work on your suitability. You need to work on, what techniques suit what head shape, what texture, etc., etc., etc. You need to kind of do a bit of style research. Don't necessarily follow what's trending now. You know what I mean? You kind of make up your own idea. You make up your own mind as to the type of haircuts you want to do, or But I think these crash course barber. I think they're very good to give you a head start. If you want to be a barber, I'm just going to finish off that. If you want to be a barber, and you want to be a barber that much, surely to God it's worth more than 12 weeks of your life, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Again, I'm going to do my last square layer here now.
I'll defend you. I'm almost. I don't think my colleagues will be happy about me saying this, because there's actually an educator in Amanda who does train one of my hairdressers at work, and there is a gent called Matt who works for me. Now, he went to college before he came to me, but he came to me looking for a job as a halfway through, and it was only a 6-month course, and he's qualified. He's got his certificate. He's a qualified barber. But I keep telling him, even to today, he's got 5 weeks to learn how to sort of like catch up to what a qualified barber should be, because I still don't think that he's anywhere near that scratch.
Again, qualified, paper never refused ink. Do you know what I mean? Paper never refused ink. I got no qualifications, none. When I did my apprenticeship, there wasn't a qualification. You did your apprenticeship, and when you were ready, you went on the shop floor. Now, what I do have is I've a million courses completed. Do you know what I mean? But I've no NVQ. I've no whatever you want to call them, because I don't believe they're worth the paper they're printed on.
Start confession then, because I'll stick up for you on that one, because I didn't get my qualification. I'm 12, 13 years, well, probably 14 years now in hairdressing, and I didn't have any qualifications till about 4 or 5 years ago, and that was only because my friend's an educator, so she forced me to do it.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it depends what you want from it. So again, I'm back into my round layers now, and I'm going to finish off in the centre back.
Nicholas all says well said in regards to the education side.
Again, but like that, I'm not saying this kind of stuff for the sake of saying it, and I don't want to be known as that guy who just gives out about everything, but we all say that we love our industry, and hairdressers especially, we're always talking about how much we love our jobs, and if we love it that much, why don't we take it more seriously? Why don't we, if you see something, say it. If you see something that's shit, the amount of people who private message me, about what I say about a certain establishment, they're all you're doing. I said, well, fucking say it then. Why don't you say it? Why should I be the one? My wife says to me all the time, why should you always be the one? And I said, because I'm that passionate about it. I said, they're not my competition. You know what I mean? My academy is not a money-making thing. It's a staff-making adventure for me. I don't make money from it. You know what I mean? People pay to use it, and people pay to do the courses. But ultimately, they get a job, and they get their money back. You know what I mean? So I guarantee them a job. Yeah. But again, we've had quite a few through the doors, and every one of them work for me now, But before we opened it, we had people come in for the interview, and we charged 6,000, right? 6 months, it's £1,000 a month. So some people thought it was too expensive, and some people thought it was too long. So don't get me wrong, there's people who do these courses and they go on to be quite good barbers, but I think that's more to be said for the individual rather than the course they've taken. You know what I mean? Because I think if you want something badly enough, you're gonna get it.
Charlotte Sargent again, totally agree. You're certainly not a hairdresser or a barber straight from college. When I qualified, I had to do a 6 month as an improver, which is showing her age, she says. Karen Ashcroft said 30 years in the business, she's still learning. And lastly, from the comments on that regard, was Amanda at Saks Apprenticeships. So there you go, mate. She says experience alongside education is important to build up skills and confidence in doing hair.
Yeah, I think so. But again, though, you gotta, people, they always go to Sassoons for courses, or they go to JB, or they go to all these like big academy, the Tony and Guy Academy. They go to, all these like Hob, all those places. Everybody teaching you inside in that place. They've all served their time. So I mean, they've all done their 4 and 5 years. So I don't see why anything else should be any different. No. Just checking there.
Petta's come back while you're just doing that. She's saying that she changed college after doing a level 2, as she didn't feel she was taught enough and needed to know of what she needed to know, but she still got a certificate anyway. So she went to a private academy, did a level 3, which was a lot further away from home, but it taught her more, so she feels much more confident now.
Yeah, but again, I think that's it's credit to the person.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I think anybody who thinks they can know it all after 12 weeks is a little bit delusional as well. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just going to take down the top now. But I don't mean it in a negative way. I'm not trying to come across negative to people. I think if somebody really wants it, I think they'll find a way to do it. And I think they will give it the time. If somebody's truly, like the amount of interviews I've done with people, before they come in, they'll tell me they're willing to do anything it takes. And, you explain to them the hours are long and the money's not great when you start. And, you're expected to learn in your free time as well as my time. And they'll say yes, 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 yes. But 4 months into it, they start giving out that they're not getting enough training, or they're not, and they're getting 2 nights a week. They're giving out that they can't do models on the shop floor during business hours. And you try to explain to them that this is a business. This is not a school. If you want a school, go upstairs. That's the school. If you want to be cutting hair every day, then you've got to actually commit something, And I let these people pay monthly, weekly, whatever, So it's not like I'm not looking for the money up front, But they have to show due cause, Now again, just to do the top, I said I'm not going to connect the top, so it'll be a full disconnection. So it's bear with me now, no mirror, so I'm going to do my very, very best to get my in. Okay. So how is Tix with you? Are you all ready? You ready to get back?
Yeah, the salon's had a bit of a redo, not a big one, but just a little one. All ready to go. PPE, all that nonsense has been ordered, overpaid for, obviously. But I've just been keeping myself busy. I made hair socials, just keeping myself entertained, really.
Yeah. And tell me this: are you going to increase your prices?
Great question.
Ever so slightly for the PPE?
Great question. We are. I am anyway.
Yeah.
We had the guys from Winning Ways, which are 2 salon owners in the Birmingham area. They do like business education and mentoring. They came on once and told us, basically, tried to give us all confidence, and we are undercharging anyway as an industry. There's not many other industries that charge as little as we do for the time that's given.
Yeah, true. Again, just to match this up, I'm going to go with my skinny part of the comb, bring it up, and I'm going to count 8 teeth back. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's more or less the same length as my sides now. Again, it's just an easy way to do it. So, cut our profile. Now we're going to go straight up.
So what about BaBa then? Are we seeing a price increase or decrease or anything?
Yeah, we're going to go up probably £2.
Yeah.
It just covers, covers the mask, disposable gowns, disposable towels. I think you have to, because like you said, undercharging. We're all our shops are all city centres. Up north we charge £28 for a walk-in, 32 for an appointment. Down south we charge 38. So we're not overpriced by any means.
See, I'm similar price to myself. I charge £30 for a gent, and I just have I have more gents than I have women. But
Very good.
if you wanted to have sorry to interrupt you, but I was saying
Yeah,
if you wanted to have a labourer for the day, empty your yard, he'll want £120 a day wage, and yet barbers are struggling to earn that because of the low prices that we charge.
and that's it. But again, a busy barber will earn good money. That's the other thing. So again, when we're cutting a profile, again, be sure not to follow the head. The head is, different people have different shaped heads. So rather than, we don't want to creep into a square there here, or around there. We want to keep it square, so we can go straight up, okay? Just to do that, okay? So very, very simple. I'm going to work horizontally now. Okay, and again, in the age of precision cutting, remember this, right? Men's hair, long men's hair, right? Generally speaking, it's very, very, rock star looking. Do you know what I mean? Rarely do we you see these pristine precision haircuts on men we don't want to see. I personally don't want to see them. So don't get hung up on a millimeter here and there, and a little bit of weight here and there, because ultimately, they don't straighten their hair with blow dries. A lot of them are heavy product use, or they wouldn't be styling the hair all that much. So I think the silhouette is very, very important. Once the shape is there, again, just make sure we're not connecting. Once the shape is there, I think that's all we need to go. But again, that's after we learn how to be very precise. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't recommend, not learning your techniques fully and truly.
Charlotte Sargent commented a really good comment, because I think a lot of people will share this feeling. But she says she's almost embarrassed about how much she charges.
Yeah, but again, and why is that? I mean, again, I think, I suppose a lot of us are priced out of it as well, because, if you're trying to run your business clean, you got to charge a certain amount. I mean, I've been very, very vocal on this in the past. If you have one shop, if you've got 2 staff, then you should be paying that, because if you're not turning over 80 grand a year, then you shouldn't have a business. Because 80,000 a year going through the wash, by the time you pay for, products, staff, rent, rates, so there's too many people, I think, not playing a fair game. And if everybody was playing a fair game, then people would, because not everybody can afford, to, shop on pure quality. You know what I mean? You see somebody, they've got, a husband, 3 boys, they might necessarily be able to afford, £21 each for their kids, and then, another £32 for their husband. But they might really want a really good haircut. Maybe they can only go to a place that charges 12. You know what I mean? So you've got to think of all these eventualities as well.
A couple of people putting in their prices. Eleni Saliaris, who's from Cyprus, she charges €15, and Charlotte charges £15 as well, which I think isn't far off being wrong. It's just that you need to make sure that the time is worth that.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to demo this type of haircut, because this haircut is not long, it doesn't come in on a book as a long haircut. This is a technique. Now, this haircut could be that long, it could be that long, it could be that long, okay? It could be this long, it could be this long, it could be this long. Technique doesn't change, the proportion does. You know what I mean? So it's about knowing your technique, adapting it to the head that you have, So that's why I'm very, very, I suppose, fickle when it comes to learning technique properly, Again, just do my other side. Anything else?
Yeah, the comment. I'm just reading the comments now. I'm trying to reply via writing them as well as reading them. It's difficult, but a lot of people are just sort of all coming together and saying we should all actually charge more. Jude Cross says The industry finally getting the respect it deserves, and yes, we do have to increase our prices due to PPE and sanitation, etc. And then people are discussing how much they charge for the gents, and they want to go up. Lisa Mitchell says she should be charging £20.
Yeah, but you know what? Depending on your rent and your overheads, sometimes £20 might be enough.
Yeah.
I think a fair price for a man's haircut, is in and around the £30 mark. Maybe a little bit more down south. I think £30 for a half an hour, 35-minute service. I think that's a very, very fair price.
This is it. I mean, I can't remember the book it was that I read now off the top of my head, but it was saying basically, because I think it's a northern thing, but I had an issue with charging as well. I have to avoid the reception. I don't do it. But it said they'll come in with the £110 trainers on and the £200 tracksuit on, and they'll put the Mercedes car key that they've got on finance down, and then want a £10 haircut to finish the look. Well, that's not how it works.
Yeah, but again, though, this is a problem that we've created ourselves, because I think, in years gone by, I know certainly I'm in this business, in this country, 6 years. When I first opened BaBa Barber in Manchester, if you couldn't do 20 haircuts a day, you didn't get a job, okay? And 20 haircuts a day, that was probably, you're doing it, 28 minutes, 32-minute service, okay? And all of a sudden, like everything, people move on, and the founding staff that I opened with, some of them moved on and did their own thing and are doing very well, but so we bring new people in, right? New people, like that, who are newer to the industry, who really kind of came into the industry at the Instagram age and saw these perfect fades and these beautifully executed layered haircuts. And all of a sudden thinking that's the work they need to be doing to become busy, right? What they don't realise is those haircuts, a lot of them, they can be photoshopped or whatever. A lot of them were done on perfect hair, don't forget that. As I said, to go back on the question about the fades a while ago, when you get really, really good hair that's really, really easy to fade, you know what I mean? You can actually end up looking 10 times better than you are, and that's the beauty. But, there was, when I first started off over here, there was no foil shavers. You know what I mean? The shortest was somebody wanted a skin fade. They either got it done with a cutthroat, we charged a shaved price on top of the haircut, okay? We were getting £40 for it. Or we did it with the minifigures. And then the foils came along because people were looking at the American barbers. And, they're looking at the Afro-Caribbean lads and the Asian lads who had these really, really super, super clean fades that were done with a foil shaver. And all of a sudden, the foil shaver adds 20 minutes to the haircut, but the price stayed the same. And then you get a guy with perfect hair, and you do a skin fade on him, and you put his picture on Instagram. Now all of a sudden, everybody looking at this does not know the dynamics of hair, does not know about texture. All of a sudden, he sees this perfect fade, and he goes, I want that. And now he goes into the shop, and he says, can you do that? Now, somebody who's super, super skilled could probably get very, very close with it. But the majority of people who aren't used to doing 20 skin fades a day will struggle. And they'll end up going 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes. I've seen guys in my shop, and my own staff are guilty of it, an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes for a skin fade and a beard. I may as well have not taken on that client because I'm not making any money. You know what I mean?
I think to sort of echo your comments there's a lot of people in here saying, they've got a bit of a fear or they're not confident with men's hair. But if you're doing a woman's haircut at £40 for argument's sake, and it takes you an hour, if you're doing a gent's haircut that takes you 40 minutes and you're charging £15, it's not common, it's not rocket science to work out. It's not worth doing.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back because remember, I just started at the top of the head, so I have the crown here still to do. Okay. So we did horizontal layers. Here we're working forward. Now we're going to do vertical square layers working backwards. Okay. When I say square again, we're over directing onto the previous, so we're going to over direct here, and we're going to over direct here. Then our haircut's going to be done. Okay.
Do you use any cutting lotions or anything when you're in the salon?
I generally don't. From time to time, we might use a little bit of conditioner. But that's it really. I think water. Once you use enough water, As I said, we don't. I rarely, any client I have with this type of hair is generally a model. So I do them after hours, or I do them for shoots and so on. I rarely have clients with this haircut on the shop floor. Yeah.
A lot of people agreeing with us on the comments. Ben Reynolds says he agrees with the comments. Lisa Mitchell, who else was there? Elena again, all commenting saying basically how true it is what we were saying about undercharging.
Yeah, I think we don't, but again, it's a question we have to ask. Do we behave in a manner which can demand more? I say to my guys all the time, right? The only difference between a 4-star hotel and a 5-star hotel is the service, right? Now, a 5-star hotel, you can pay 600 quid a night, 700 quid, you can pay 20 grand a night, right? 4-star hotel, you get one for 200 quid, right? So, what's the difference? The bed is just as soft, the food, they all taste the same, but it's how they treat you, right? It's how they treat you that makes you want to pay that extra money, because everyone wants to be treated nice, right? And I say this time and time again, everybody wants to be treated well, and there is places out there that charge £100 a haircut. There is places out there that charge £200 a haircut. Why are they getting it? I say to my lads all the time, after a certain degree of, excellence, right, a haircut becomes invisible, right? Once the haircut is at a certain standard, the customer doesn't see it. The customer doesn't see the weight. He might feel the weight in 6 or 7 weeks' time, but he doesn't see it. He doesn't see the difference in a technically perfect haircut, right? Or a good haircut, right? Good and excellent can only be spotted hairdresser to hairdresser, barber to barber and such, right? But service, the dog in the street knows good service, and he'll pay for it. Men won't pay for the perfect precision haircut. You might get a percentage, you do. I'm not saying all men, but men will pay for good service. I would.
It is. We are in the customer service industry, and it's sometimes forgotten. But yeah, the customer service part is obviously the key bit.
Yeah, I think there's been, and I don't want to sound like I'm kind of going back on what I said earlier about how important it is to train properly, because it is, because we are a serious business. But what you can teach people is manners. You know what I mean? Manners are something you have. You can suppose you can guide someone how to improve them. But if somebody's ignorant, they're ignorant. If someone's an arsehole, they're an arsehole. And if somebody's unreliable, they're unreliable.
Second, Shelley Whiston, what do you do to go the extra mile to give customer service?
I think again, it's just everything from the floor to the door. When people come in, we greet them. We greet them in a manner that, if we know their name, we call them their name. If we don't know their name, we call them sir. Once they're of a certain age, we try to smile a lot. You know what I mean? We've got nice music playing. We give complimentary drinks, teas, coffees. We keep our shop immaculately clean. We say please, we say thank you. We try our best, I suppose, to give people that full experience. I don't mean as in a Zen experience, but we do behave in a very professional manner. There's very, very limited, banter talk between the barbers. You know what I mean? If the barbers are talking to each other, they make sure that the customer's involved in it. Very rarely, well, Jimmy, did you go out last night? All right, yeah, what are you having for your lunch? And I said, small things, but you just imagine a list of 30 small things makes one massive thing. You know what I mean? So that's what we do really. Yeah, and we're consistent. We're consistent.
I kind of want your help in this one, because Elena Celiaris has said men don't want to pay a lot for their hair.
I disagree.
Yeah, I do as well.
When you say a lot, what do you mean a lot?
She commented earlier saying she charged €15, Now, obviously, I can't comment on Cyprus as a whole, but it surely would be a similar sort of mindset to us. And I think that there's like you just said, then it's about the thing. I'll let you answer the question, but I personally think that they will pay it if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah, and I think the client, maybe you're trying to focus on the wrong client, you know? That could be, no, maybe you're not, maybe that's the market in Cyprus, I don't know. As I said, it's, I just know from experience, the barbershops around me, a lot of them are cheaper than me, and they're not as busy as me. When I say me, I mean us, as in barber, I'm generally not in one place all the time. I travel around to all the shops, so I cut here in Manchester on a Friday. The rest of the week I'm flying around to all the other shops.
Amanda said exactly what you just said. She said, I think it depends on the type of male clientele that you want to attract.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't agree more, mate.
No, hang on a second. Now, again, I'm just going to run through it there just for a second. I'm going to dry it off slightly again because I have a bit of tarting up to do, But again, don't worry, if it's not perfect in the first pass, right? Because when we blast this through, right, I'm going to do a lot of freehand on it. You know what I mean? So any bit of weight that's there, we're going to pick up on it, But again, as I said, I'm not looking for precision here. I'm looking for a shape. Okay, so if there's a little bit off either way, we can fix that after the fact. So I know very, very few people who can cut hair perfectly wet to dry. Okay.
In terms of the sort of clients and the prices and not wanting to pay, a lot of people want to. They want to be that guy that you put on Instagram. They want to have that fade that you said on Instagram. And if you keep putting that haircut out there, you will attract that client back to you. It's as simple as that.
That's it. I mean, like a lot of most of my personal clients, right? As in the clients I see every Friday, they're all older men. A lot of my clients are, 40s, 50s, even 60s. You know what I mean? Because that's the client I want. I want the client who's not going to tell me how to do my job. I want the client who appreciates good service, and I want the client who's going to come back to me every 6 weeks and give me £28. That's the client I want. I don't want the Instagram influencer who's going to walk in and look at his phone every 2 minutes. I'd fucking beat him to death. I don't want that in my shop, right? So that's the client I get. You know what I mean? So you get what you get what you attract in. If you want these guys, influence 150,000 followers on Instagram, they have that for a reason, right? Because they behave in a manner that gets them that. So that's you're going for a clientele you might necessarily want. You might think you want it, but be careful what you wish for as well. I'm just going to pass this around. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So again, we can chat away there. Anything else call for? I said we just chat away. I just rough grind this. I don't generally use diffusers or anything like that unless I'm doing shoots or anything like that. But clients, again, I don't use diffusers on clients simply because it's a barber shop. My personal belief, I don't like using them on the shop floor. Some people do. Some of my staff do, but I don't. Okay.
While you're drying the hair, I'll just answer a few of these questions for you. Elena, I'm glad you're liking the advice, and me and my family will fly out to Cyprus, no problem, and give you some more tips on confidence on charging men's hair, no problem at all. Ben Reynolds has said, always been a tough area charging enough for gents. Oh my god, it's a long one. This I mainly gents now take 40 minutes, charge 15 quid and 16 for a skin fade. Restyle 70 quid, but I'm back to back in advance. Wouldn't worry increasing my prices and losing clients. Totally agree that they should be charging £20 and upwards, but that's tough in this price period that we're in. It's same for the old barbers around the country.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be lots to contend when we come back, but I think £1 or £2 in a shop is not going to lose you many clients. Like if they're already paying If you're already paying 15, they'll pay 17. If they're paying 17, they'll pay 19. If they're paying 19, they'll pay 21. That's my belief. You know, like if someone's paying 15 and you start charging 25, now you might lose them. You know what I mean? A tenner is a tenner. But you know, 2 pounds here and there, they're not going to see that. You know, most guys leave a tip anyway. You know, a lot of guys, you know, a lot of guys don't want to put up the prices either because it'll affect their tips. You know.
Interestingly, my prices have gone up. I said earlier I charged £30, but that's the new price I will be charging. I was 25 before that, so it is a bit of a jump. But for me, it's also a business sort of idea in not just wanting to earn more money cutting hair, but encourage them to use the people that are cheaper in the tiers below.
Sorry, say that again.
I was saying for myself personally, I've gone up a fiver, but it's also to try and make myself what I feel I'm worth now, which is the £30, but also increase the people that are £15 beneath me to be more appealing.
Yeah, well, you know, they might pick up clients. You know what I mean? If you were charging 30 and someone's underneath you in the salon, you know, all of a sudden, if a guy doesn't want to give you the 30, he might, you know, that's how a lot of salons work. You know, when the style directors put up the prices, you know, the junior stylist ups their game and picks up more clients. You know, it doesn't happen all the time, but a lot of times it does. So do you think this is going to be the July 4th for everybody? Yeah, that's another thing I get, you know. I think as of today, if the car showroom is open, right, you have, I think the dentists are open this week, right? And from what we're seeing in Europe, you know, we're allowed to go back in and cut hair, but we're not allowed to do beards or shaves, right? So we can't do any facing services. But also, I think from this week, tailors are opening. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever been measured for a suit, but, you know, when you're getting measured for a suit, you know, you're a kiss away from getting pregnant. That's how close they are, right? So if that's okay, why is getting a haircut not? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think, you know, the way people are looking at this, you know, they're waiting for, don't get me wrong, government advice is very important, right? But people are waiting, you know, for the big boss man to tell you it's okay to go back to work, right? But just people have been at work for the last 9, 10 weeks anyway, you know, they'll be just being very careful, you know. So, you know, I'd be ready to open confidently and safely within 2 weeks, you know. It's just public opinion would stop it, do you know what I mean? Because it could do a lot of damage to your business. But you're waiting until this government who can't make up their mind tells us we go back to work, you know, is, I suppose, it's what we want to do really. Now, I'm just going to do a little bit of freehanding, okay?
Yep.
Now, when you look at these dummy heads, as I said, I didn't cut his sideburn all the way up, okay? So naturally, this is going to be way, way longer than here, okay?
Yep.
Same goes from the back. These are threaded very, very low, so obviously it's going to be longer than here. So, you know, I'm not going to worry about it because it doesn't really matter on the haircut. I've checked my length for my corners, okay? That's absolutely perfect. It's bang on, okay? So look at that. You know, it's bang on. The reason why it's bang on is because I've followed my technique. I've trusted my technique. Okay, as I said, you know, if I was to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, you know what, it could be a millimeter or two out, but it's not going to affect me. It's not a centimeter. You know what I mean? You're talking millimeters. So again, freehanding. Freehanding looks very, very random. Okay, looks very, very raw, but it's actually you're following a method. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down. Okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to bring it through here. Okay, just to break it up. I'm just going to break up that really, really square shape I have, right? Now the square shape, again, because it's disconnected, it's collapsed. So, you know, I haven't built up a square shape within this haircut, okay? So again, very, very lightly, right? I'm careful, I'm not going to go into my roots, okay? Can you see? Can you see the top of that? Okay? So again, I'm not going to go into the roots. I'm going to just go on the mid-length and end, right? I'm going to elevate it each time, okay? This technique I learned from Dale Watkins, right? And if anybody is watching this and anybody knows me, you know, Dale has probably been my biggest mentor since I came to this country, right? You know, I still think, you know, from a style point of view, I think from a knowledge point of view, and I think from a teaching point of view, I don't think there's anybody better in the world, right? And I've seen a lot. I mean, you know, you've got different genres of brilliance. As I said, you've got Alan, you've got Sid, you've got Josh, you know, you've got Kevin Lutchman, you know, you've got some amazing Charlie Cullen, Jodie Taylor. I mean, the list is endless, right? But when I'm talking about pure craft, right, and pure, you know, I suppose a pure appreciation of personal style, you're going to find it hard to beat Dale, you know.
Yeah, I've reached out to Dale. We was meant to do something, but he couldn't get hold of a doll. And obviously, Eddie Phelan has been on the show, and he was talking a lot about Dale, and we got in touch with him. But yeah, he's a lovely guy.
He's brilliant, you know. He's old and crackhead, and you know he's a bit creepy, but you know he's brilliant. You know, I was only talking to him the other day. You know, I still keep great contact with him. You know, again what I'm doing, looking like I'm very random. I'm almost like doing a back combing motion here. But if you start to see the haircut starting to take a shape now. I'm not worried about outlines on this haircut because I'm going for a real kind of, you know, 90s grungy kind of look on this, you know. And you can be as harsh or you can be as light as you want to be on it, okay? But again, I'm following my section here on the round, right? So I'm not here, right? I'm going back into my, remember I did a round there from here, okay? So I'm going to follow it, you know, I'm going to follow it round, okay? Again, I'm going to elevate it each time. Okay, so again, very visual. When you do this kind of stuff on stage, people look at you like you're hacking someone off, but you're actually not, you know, because it makes very, very little difference to the actual shape of the haircut, but what it does do, it really adds some depth, you know what I mean?
Ben Reynolds has made a comment. He's saying, "What a guest you've got in tonight, Sam. I'm telling you, Mr. BaBa is the man. Massive respect to this geezer."
Thank you very much, I appreciate that, you know. As I said, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, I don't, you know, there is a part of everybody that wants that little bit of acceptance from their peers, you know what I mean? But, you know, I probably maybe have been my own worst enemy over the years, that I'm very, very, I think sometimes my passion gets away with me, you know? I'm not an ignorant man, I'm not a rude man, but I do say it as it is, you know what I mean? I don't apologise for it. I really, you know, lost, I'm not going to say respect because I don't want certain people's respect, but you know, some people have dismissed me before they've actually seen me, you know.
Is that a typical Irish trait, or is it just something you've been brought up with?
Yeah, no, it's Irish because you know, again, and again, I've been quite vocal on this one. You know, this is the type of industry that you know probably puts a bit too much weight on the opinion of their peers. Okay, now I'm not an educator as a job. I mean, I teach my own staff. Right? So I don't have to be liked. You know, if everybody watching this thinks I'm an asshole, that's fine because I still go back to teaching myself. I don't have to teach to make money. You know what I mean? It's not my job. You know what I mean? So you have other teachers who probably can't be as vocal as me, you know, because obviously they have to keep themselves busy within the industry, you know. But I think if we were a little bit more focused on what's going on behind our own shares, than what's going on under anybody else's. I've never told someone how they should run their business. I had a lot of people tell me how I should run mine, which is, I find that quite hilarious,
Amanda at Sax says, me and most of the people in our meet in our industry have passion that always takes over. Nicholas also says she prefers that. You know who you are then. And Rick Roberts has popped in and he says, how are you, Johnny? Oh, you're well. How are you doing being at home all this time?
I'm doing good. I'm not doing as good as him, man. He's looking well. He's looking very fit. He's looking very fit. But yeah, I'm absolutely. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my son. Because the first couple of years of building the business, my wife and my son were still back in Ireland, and they only moved over in the second and third year. And then when I opened in London, I moved to London for a year. I was only coming home the weekend, so I've kind of had him. He's only 8. So I've been with him every day. For the last 3 months, and it's been fantastic. And as soon as they get the green light, they'll be going back to Ireland for the summer. So I want to see him for the rest of the summer. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been great. As I said, it's been frustrating, as everybody who has, whoever works in the salon or anybody who owns a salon, it's been very frustrating. By nature we are a hard-working bunch, and we a lot of us do, we do a lot more than a 9 to 5,
Rick Roberts said he nearly looks as good as you now, mate.
But I am younger, I think. Very good.
I worked with Rick at Matrix for a year, but unfortunately, we got on really well. But unfortunately, he went to Schwarzkopf as I'd just bedded in at Matrix, so we don't get to see each other as much anymore.
Yeah, I tell you, he's a brilliant hairdresser. Not just afro hair, everything. I think his hairdressing, his actual dressing of hair, is some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. Sarah Rules commented, "Love the technique that you're doing."
Yeah, again, you know what? Makes you look better than you are. It's lovely. It's a definite. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a crowd pleaser, No, hang on a second. No. When you stand for so long, it all tends to fall through here. Now again, I'm not going to cut a fringe in here, okay? Again, I'm going to use my eye, okay? Okay, I'm going to use my eye, and I'm going to freehand this because I don't want it too short. And what I don't want this really, really raw looking haircut and this really neat fringe. I don't want that, okay? So again, freehand, because again, remember, I've already cut my length in. I don't want it short in my haircut. I don't want a fringe in this haircut. So again, I'm just going to see where it's falling. And be a little bit more aggressive on it now. Again, like you can do this, if you cut hair, like this is the same as razor cutting to a degree, right? Okay. What you do is, as you elevate it, you're going to leave the length. Okay, you're just going to take. You're going to take the weight out, but you're going to leave the length in the perimeter. Okay, so you're not going to go too short, yeah. And so don't worry about a little bit of excess here or there. That can come off.
What's your type of client that would have this haircut?
Jesus. Kind of a rocky kind of kid, you know what I mean? Like grungy. It's a very great grunge haircut, but it can be dressed up, you see. This is the beauty about this haircut. Again, it doesn't have to be worn like this, right? Because again, you can wrap, like if you were to, you can wear it wet, you can wear it dry, you can really kind of super overstyle it, or you can keep it calm. You know what I mean? If you had some hairspray or anything like that, a lot of guys, generally speaking, if a guy is in a band, if you got a guitar, he's this.
Yeah, I agree. Would you have had this haircut? Is my question.
Me? No. I, believe it or not, always had relatively mid-length hair. I had that kind of. I remember like the late 90s. I had that Fred Lumber red mohawk out of the business. I had. When I say that, it was more of a faux hawk. I never had the short sides. It's only in the last. I say the last 14 to 15 months I've had short hair. And the reason being is that's why. you know. So not trying to lose a battle there. Okay.
No, you suit it, mate. Don't worry.
Right. Okay, we're just almost done. Okay. Now I'm just going to get a little bit of conditioner, okay? Right, just to put a little bit of moisture in this area, just to show you how it can be worn. Right? If you look at it flat, right? The reason again, when you see the shape here, you understand. There's been zero styling on this. You saw it. I blasted it. Okay, it looks pretty bloody cool, right? Now you can imagine if this was a shoe haircut and you actually took time in styling it. Imagine how good this can look. But I think sometimes they need to look a little bit. No, gnarly would be the word I'd use. You know what I mean? Because again, when you think about this, right? Every haircut, nobody ever became famous or cool because of the haircut. Okay, the haircut became cool because of the person, right? So when I talk to my lads in the class all the time, I say, Paul Weller never asked for a Paul Weller haircut. Liam Gallagher never asked for Liam Gallagher haircut, and so on and so forth. You know, Cillian Murphy, right? Not a good haircut, but that character he plays, Tommy Shelby, is very cool. You know, so you gotta understand. Just because you want that haircut doesn't necessarily mean the haircut's going to suit you. So I think suitability is a massive thing that people need to kind of, especially people who want to get into barbering. You know, and, suitability is very, very important. Okay, and it is in ladies hairdressing as well, as you know. I don't know if you're as old as me, but you remember in the 90s, every single woman wanted to look like Jennifer Aniston, but not every woman had a face like her. You know what I mean? And that was it. Like you had these women showing hairdressers pictures of Jennifer Aniston, and I want to look like that. And you go, I bet you do. You know what I mean? But
Bet their husbands did as well. That haircut there, mate, is one of them haircuts as a men's hairdresser that it's just one that you always want to do in it. It's like you've got to do it at least once on a client in your life.
oh yeah, but I mean again, you look at the shoot. This is what I'm talking about. When we elevate the side, that flatness. If this was cut as a pure square layer, this would be. Well, you often hear me say, and I say this to my lads all the time, that if you cut hair square, it would fall round. When I say it falls round, it doesn't fall round, it falls heavy. Square layering builds up weight. Okay? So to build up weight at the right part of the head, we build up weight where the head is starting to fall away. We're trying to pad out this roundness, okay, to give that flat shape. Around the back, right, we have to cut it round, right? We have to cut it round. So it's not a woman's haircut, but it's a technique that we've adapted to the head. Look at that. That's perfect, right? As I said, there might be a millimeter here or there. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. If I wanted to really hone in on this, I could spend an hour and I would have it millimeter perfect. But for what? You know what I mean? For me to say, right, I do it maybe 3, 4, 5 times a year just to keep my hand in. As I said, I haven't done a haircut in 13 weeks. You know what I mean? I said probably a bit rusty, probably a bit longer than I would usually be. But when you have time, you should always revisit your basic. And basic doesn't. People confuse basic with easy. Basic is fundamental. Fundamental is eternal, right? We have to, in everything, football, sport. I watched The Last Dance. I think everybody watched The Last Dance about Michael Jordan. And what made him brilliant was his fundamental skill that he worked on. Nobody could outwork him. You know what I mean? He had a level of God-given skill, but God-given skill doesn't get you where you are. You know what I mean? Or where you want to go. So again, just to recap on it, the roundness here, what that does, takes the weight out. If I did a full pure square layer back here, you could just imagine how wide this shape would be. Okay, that's why I did a round layer here. Okay. The reason why I disconnected the top, just to give you a reason why I do things, I like to explain why I do things when I teach. The reason why I want that freedom, right? I want that freedom, he can do what he wants with that, right? Again, the reason why I freehand is the hair will do more or less whatever you want it to do, because you've taken the weight out, you've taken the weight out in the right place, right? And the reason why we don't go into the root, obviously, these guys, fellas who get haircuts like this, they generally get the haircut about maybe 12 weeks, right? In 12 weeks, where I've taken my bits out, that'll be growing back. If I went into the root, you know what I mean, by the time he comes back for his haircut, right, and I cut down to where the hair is regrown, then, it's going to be too heavy. So it's, just ways around it and texturize it again, but again, just to make things simple, I think it's the best way of approaching it, right? So, just going to get a little bit of conditioner, okay? And I say a little bit, I mean a really little bit, just there. So, right, I'm just going to rub it through the hair, right? I'm going to get into the root, okay? Because a lot of that, again, product distribution, especially men's hair, a lot of people aren't doing it right. And again, I don't want to be seen as someone saying, oh, everyone's not doing it right, but, to apply product, it goes into the roots first, the shape will hold when the hair comes better, And again, men, and especially men's long hair, with product, less is more. Now, so we're thereabouts. Any questions? I think I'll just give you a little run around.
No questions, mate. I think you explained that brilliant. I think you explained that brilliantly. But I love this cut, mate. Like I said, men's hairdresser, really appreciate this work.
Yeah, do you know what? I enjoy this haircut. I think before I came on here, I was like, oh shit, I said, why did I agree to do this? I haven't got hair properly in months. And after you agree to do something, you're kind of waiting for it to happen. So you start thinking of all eventuality. I think I dropped my comb once, which was, cool. So I'm just going to give it a little turn here. See that? Okay.
One question from Nicola: what would you charge for this haircut?
£28. If it was a walk-in, which it wouldn't be, most of my clients are appointments. £32 for an appointment.
Thank you very much, mate. Everybody just saying thank you. So thanks for joining us. And I'll get back in touch with you soon, buddy. But I'll end it. Thanks a million. That's coming from Jude.
Thank you very much, Simon.
Thank you, buddy.
Good evening.